Hey guys, this is Abby Kay, your friendly neighborhood drag and circuit racer, and this is the Fans View podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Fans View podcast. Today's guest is someone who is making noise both on the drag strip and online. She's blending motorsports with content creation and marketing in a way that's really bringing new fans into the sport. From racing in Australia's sportsman drag racing scene to building her own brand through social media and automotive culture, she's proving that modern motorsports is just as much about storytelling as it is speed. And let me tell you, she's as beautiful as she is a badass. Please welcome Miss Abbey K. McDonald to the show. Abby, how are you doing this evening? Or I guess in your homeland this afternoon.
I am, thank you, coming all the way to you from Australia. Thank you for that introduction, though. I think I'm very pleased to be here and very honored.
I love it. I love it. I'm so excited to have you on. This has been a couple weeks in the making, so I'm really glad we could make this happen.
It has been, sorry about that. Good old Australia. There's a lot happening in the world at the moment.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We're gonna give you a pass this one time. For fans who are meeting you for the first time, lucky for them, what's the story of how cars and motorsports, first became a part of your life?
It was a little bit of a unconventional entry for me. I know most people born into motorsports sort of cart and work their way up into whatever avenue it is that they want. I didn't come from that. I came from an aviation background, lots of pilots, lots of planes, but just generally loved machinery. However, I liked my machinery on the ground. I liked wheels and I liked them to stay grounded. Basically, my teen years, I started tinkering with cars. That sort of, I guess, self-taught knowledge on the mechanical and functional sides of vehicles came in really handy when I used to hang out at the go-kart track a lot. And I was very lucky. My sister raced and she would lend me her cart to go and burn around the track in. I just went for fun. I would use it when they were having a rest through their practices. And I went out one time, came back, and everyone was like, "Do you know how fast you were going?" And I was like, "I don't know, I was just having fun." And they were like, "Yeah, you were going real quick. We need to get you into a car." And it kind of eventuated from there that I was very lucky to be surrounded by the right people at the right time to get me into a world I just never thought I was going to be a part of. But I'm so grateful to be here now. But it was a very weird series of events that unfelt. God, I can't talk today. Sorry.
I love that. And I definitely want to dig deeper into that. Was there a specific moment where you realized racing was something that you did want to actively pursue and not just, watch and kind of mess around with?
100%. I mean, I never thought that racing would be an option for me in my life. As most people know, motorsport is very expensive and it takes a
Right.
village. You
Yes.
can have a car, but to have the means, the support, the resources, and just the ability to travel and race is hugely expensive and time consuming. It wasn't so much as I had never wanted it for myself. I just never thought it would even be a possibility. And
Mm-hmm.
I realized when a couple of very generous benefactors came into my life, which are now my sponsors, that they believed in me. And to quote them, Mick Newport Contracting is my key sponsor. And
Mm-hmm.
he said to me that he wished at that time in his life that someone would have believed in him and invested in him in that way, because he knew he had a dream, he had the passion, and he could take it somewhere, but he didn't have the resources. So in his words, he wanted to give that to me, which is just such a blessing. So privileged and so grateful for that. But after someone invests in you wholeheartedly in that sense, you owe it to yourself and to them, to everyone around you, to just see how far you can take it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. You talked about how growing up you like to tinker and mess around with cars, and they were obviously a part of your life even before racing itself. I read when I was doing some research that Winternationals was a big turning point for you. What was it about that event that made such an impact?
Winternationals was such an eye-opening experience for me. I'd loved motorsport my whole life, grew up racing, and we have a series in Australia called the Supercars Championship, which is basically the equivalent to what America's NASCAR is It's the one that everyone sort of follows around in a bit of a holy grail sense. I had only known circuit racing, really. Where I grew up in the tropics, we didn't have a lot of racetracks. We basically had a sprint track and a little bit of an essence of a circuit track, but everything was not really a travelable distance. If you know Australia, it's bloody huge. To drive from one state to another state takes a whole day. To drive from one end of the country to the other end of the country takes 3 days, 4 days.
Wow.
It's a big country. Traveling to a racetrack wasn't really in my means where I grew up. And I was very blessed that Mick Newport, who is now my sponsor as well, was a close friend of the family. And he took all of our family to see Winternationals, which is a drag racing event in Australia. It's probably what I would say the biggest drag event in our calendar year. I will wholeheartedly admit that flying down to there, because we had to take an airline to get to the racetrack. Flying there, I really truly believed, based on my knowledge of drag racing at the time, that it was just one way, start to finish, go to woe, that I was probably going to be a bit bored. And I had planned to maybe go for a day or two, and then I might go do some shopping, because there's not a lot of shopping where I'm from. So I'm like, maybe I'll take the opportunity while I'm near the city to go shopping. I'd had full plans to be semi-present, really, not
Right.
as actively involved in the sport. I was just excited for a trip, and I stepped into this arena, stepped onto this drag strip. We were very lucky that we had amazing seats as well, and part of the perks of our seats got us to go stand in the middle of the strip where they launch.
That's
And
awesome.
just driving in and hearing these rumbles, like these rumblings in the background, I was like, ooh, okay, it's got my attention. And then to feel the ground shake, I was like, oh, okay, wait a second. I think we're onto something here. Winternationals is a 4-day event, and you could not take me away from that track for the whole 4 days. I was there from sunup to way past sundown. I was there to midnight if they let me. I was talking to every single driver, team, crew chief that I could, any volunteer or official that could just teach me about what is this sport that I'm witnessing right now. It was just so impressive from so many different ways. I never realized how, I guess, impressive the engineering is that goes into drag cars. I've always been very admiring of just vehicles in general, I mean, of all ages, but there's something very different when it comes to a drag car. It is a precision instrument, and it's a precision instrument of extremities too. They're like, cool, this is the bounds of nature, how can we push it? And I loved that. That's who I am as a person. So I feel I had a real connection straight away with drag racing. I was already in my early 20s when I first got to see drag racing, and it was love at first sight from there. I think love at first sight exists because I've had it,
I
and it
love that.
hasn't left me yet.
I love it. I love it. And I love the passion that you talk about drag racing with. I love that. Is it safe to say that when you fell in love with drag racing specifically, that the atmosphere is really just what hooked you?
100%. I mean, if you think about drag racing objectively, most people and teams, drivers, everyone that is involved in some form of the actual driving, they're on the track for maybe 10 seconds. Most cars, like if you're in a competitor car, 7 seconds, 5, 3, even if you're in the top field categories, your actual track time is so minute. It's tiny. You
Yeah.
really don't get a lot of track time, but the time off the track is really what makes drag racing. And it's why I think to really understand the sport, people need to experience the atmosphere. You need to go behind the scenes and see them tearing down a top fuel engine in 40 minutes to understand the magnitude of what's actually happening in front of you when that car comes out for 3 seconds straight and burns 80 litres of nitromethane. Like, the mind starts to boggle because what you're seeing doesn't make sense. We take our car to the dealership and they can't even do an oil change in like 30 minutes. What do you mean they're tearing down an engine? It's
Uh,
amazing.
I love that. And I need to say it again. The passion that you speak about, that you have when you talk about racing is really infectious. Like I'm just on the edge of my seat here. That is fantastic. You know, one thing that just came to me that I wanted to ask you is, and we're going to get into this a little bit deeper later on, but obviously the way you look comes into play. People see you, they do not think this hardened, like badass drag racer. Like they see obviously this beautiful woman, hair done, nails done, they think model. How often has that happened to you where someone underestimates you just based on your appearance alone?
A lot. It's a very common thing. I find most people don't mean it maliciously either.
Yeah,
It's not something that I want to attack people for because I don't think there's a malicious intent. It's just society has programmed us to predict that these kind of people that look a certain way do a certain thing and behave a certain way and act like live a certain life. So I guess from my perspective, it's a privilege for me to be able to challenge that.
right.
I get the comment probably the most that I don't look like a drag racer. And I go, well, what does a drag racer look like? Really?
Do they ever have an answer?
Yeah, it kind of shuts people up. And I just give them a little bit of I guess, a thinking point. But it works the same with anything. You think about an engineer or you think about a nurse. What does a nurse look like? Everyone has a bit of a predetermined picture in their head, and that's what we need to challenge. It's a subconscious bias that we as a society just need to gradually just be aware of and improve upon. But I mean, there's obviously a lot of hate out there, and that is more direct, that is intended to be malicious. I deal with that differently. But in terms of that, I get the comments a lot. I kind of see it as an opportunity for me to educate people gently.
Love it. It's got to be a little more satisfying too when they think you're not up to snuff, and then you just burn it down, just right in their face. It's got to be a little gratifying there at the end.
There definitely is a certain point. I do love to point out to people that I'm probably faster than them.
I'm prettier than you. I'm faster than you. That's
I would
tough.
never
That's
say
tough.
that.
No, I kid. I kid. What was the learning curve like once you actually got behind the wheel, and started competing?
Huge. I mean, I didn't come from that background at all. I didn't have a family that even understood the sport. I was Me and my sister were the first of our family to get into it. My sister did race for a few years. She doesn't anymore. But we raced in different classes for a while together and we learnt together. That's where I guess I also fell in love with drag racing was the community was so incredibly supportive. Learning anything from scratch is going to be work and it's going to take time and effort. You can't just comprehend the full scope of something just with one brief. You need to really investigate it. You need to analyze it. You need to try it for yourself. And there was a lot of try. There was a lot of trial, error, oopsie moments. They definitely happened. And I guess I really lent hard on the existing drag community that embraced me wholeheartedly. It was the outside community that I guess had something to say about me. So when I was actually in the seat, when I was actually at the track, I had nothing to worry about because even if I had the most stupid question to ask, I know that they would give me the time of day and no one's going to make me feel like an idiot for it. They are just happy that someone else loves their sport the way that they do and someone else wants to invest and be a part of their sport the way that they do. Drag races, we just want to make more drag races. We want more people to be a part of it.
I love
So
that. Well,
the learning curve was
hopefully
huge.
somebody that's watching this, maybe you're making more drag racers right now.
I hope so. I really hope so. Tell them to message me if they do. I want to impart what's been imparted to me and pass it on and hopefully we can build some real momentum here. But it's a huge learning curve. And just getting into a car as well. There are junior dragsters, which most people in drag racing start in a junior dragster. And I guess that really gives you a good, solid fundamentals and foundation to then work your way up into the sport. I didn't have that. I just went, I really like those long slingshotty ones with the big wheels at the back and the little wheels at the front. I want to drive one of those. And they were like, do you want to try something else? And I was like, no, give me that one. So that came with a lot of risk and trial and error. Maybe wouldn't 100% recommend it that way. But at the same time, drop yourself in the deep end, you'll know whether you sink or swim pretty quickly.
That's it. You're gonna know if you've got it or not. That's for
You
sure.
will.
Obviously, at this point, you have put years of blood, sweat, and tears into perfecting your craft, which you'll never do, obviously, but working on your craft. Do you remember the first time you ran a 7-second pass and realized how serious that speed is?
I really do. It would have been 2.5 years ago. I'm pretty sure it was February. And I had been testing a new dragster. So I started in a rear engine dragster, which was roughly running about 8.5s up the quarter. And about 3 years ago, we bought a new dragster, which is a front engine dragster. I went from a small block to a big block. So very big increase in engine size. The actual wheelbase of the car was substantially longer and bigger as well. And of course, the major difference, I guess, would be where I usually sat, the engine now was, and where the engine was, I sat. And I sat right over on the diff, right over the wheels. So there was a lot of learning that came with that car. And I had been warned by people that drive front engines that there is a feeling called a walk, which is kind of where the car feels like it's consistently swaying. But you're sitting on the diff, you're right between the tires, you feel everything. So I had spent my first runs in this car really aware of that, not to overcorrect, not to panic if I felt like the car was starting to slide, and just trusting the front engine feel. And my mentor at the time, and the person who I'd actually bought the car off, he was training me in the car. I came back around to the lanes ready to run, and he goes, "How you feeling?" And I was like, "Yeah, good. I think I'm really getting it now." And he goes, "Okay, run a bloody 7 already." And I was like, "Okay, will do." So I went out and I was like, whatever happens, I'm keeping my foot flat until I see that finish line. And that's exactly what I did. And I came out shaking and jittering, and you feel just even pulling the parachutes feels different when you're 1 second faster or when you're another 20, 30 mile per hour faster. And I said, I think in the camera, I had a GoPro above my on my roll cage. I jumped out and I was like, that's it. I'm never going back. That was it. Faster or nothing. It's just, you words can't comprehend what that feels like. It was amazing.
You know, and I'm glad you said that. I didn't even have this written down, but I want to ask you. You talk about when you're sitting in that car for the first time and how it feels so much different than anything you sat in before. How much of that is fear? How much of it is adrenaline? And then how much of it is excitement? You know, is it just a mishmash of just all these weird emotions at the same time?
I mean, probably. I've never thought about it super objectively, but I find I don't feel afraid on the track. I've definitely felt nerves, just I guess
Mm-hmm.
nervous for an outcome. If I'm going into a race where there's a bit of a high stake, nervous for an outcome. If I haven't driven for a while, I'm a little nervous on whether I can fully remember how the machine functions and everything. There's so many things to do in such a short span of time when you're roaring up a track. So it's that nerve, that trusting yourself and trusting that the car is still going to do what you know how to do. Most of it's excitement. And I have a really bad tick, which looks horrible. When I get excited, I yawn, which is the worst correlation.
So you look like an absolute psychopath on a drag strip.
Exactly. I'm sitting there in a helmet strapped into this rocket, and I'm like, oh, like it's I hate it personally. I feel like I need to go and explain to everyone. I'm so excited that I'm yawning. Please don't judge me. But
That's amazing.
it's definitely most excitement. Like every racer out there, obviously, we've had to have that moment with ourselves, usually privately, where we accept that what we're doing is dangerous. There's a
Mm-hmm.
chance that something bad could happen to us, something bad could happen to the car, and God forbid something could happen to someone else. And you will obviously try everything that you can to mitigate any sort of risk, but it comes with risk. And I've
Absolutely.
always said, if I were to go in a drag car, I am going happy, so it's fine. Obviously, we don't want to speak that into
Yes.
existence.
Nope.
Hey, you. Yeah, watching this right now. I see you. If you're enjoying what you're watching, I've got one quick favor to ask, and it only takes a second, costs you nothing, and makes a huge difference. If you could go ahead and hit that like button, maybe drop a comment. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed. Doesn't seem like much, but for small creators, it's everything. So let's help more people find this channel and keep the content coming. And honestly, I'm pretty sure the podcast will be really grateful. So if you're having fun, you like what you see, make it official, click those buttons, and the Fans View podcast, we'll see you next time.
Nope.
But I also always argue that I think it's a lot more dangerous driving to and from commuting to work every day than it is to be driving a drag car. I've got a roll cage, a helmet, neck braces, and, fireproof suit on, whereas I think there's a lot of roads, particularly around Australia, we should be wearing a helmet for.
Yeah, I was about to say, and if any of your fellow drivers over there are like they are here in the States, yeah,
Yeah.
and we'll
Yeah.
leave it there. We'll leave it at that. Well, now that I have completely brought the mood down, let's perk up and let's talk about something happy. And that is your social media content. Obviously, it's how I found you, so you're doing something right. Alongside racing, obviously, you've built a very strong presence online. When did you realize that content creation could be a major part of what you do?
It was something that was more fun to me to begin. I just enjoyed the creative side of it. I'm a marketer in my, professional life. I run a marketing business.
Mhm.
Creativity and just being out in the public eye was something I'd always done from a business lens, but never done, I guess, for myself personally. And it just started for fun. I had a beautiful car that I wanted to show off, and I thought there's potentially going to be someone interested in there out there. And turns out there was. There was quite a big interested audience. And
Shocker.
I Shocking, I know. Then I got a message, and I'd only got maybe a couple thousand followers at this point, and I received a message from a woman who had said she'd been watching my drag racing content, and this was particularly in the early days when I was really fresh to it. I was learning, and I was just trial and error in everything in my life. So I was probably saying things that were wrong and doing things that were wrong. But she reached out to me and said that just from seeing me active in the sport online, she decided to take her car. She had a Camaro, which is a very nice car in Australia. I know they're everywhere in America, but we love Camaros here. And she took her Camaro to the drag strip because she'd always wanted to race, never had the guts to do it. She was in her 40s. And she decided, because of me, if another girl can just go out and give it a crack, she's going to go out and give it a crack. And she ended up winning the event. She won. And
That
she
is
sent me this
amazing.
long message telling me her story. And I was like, wow, this has impact. What
Right.
I'm doing has impacted someone's life. And I remember being young and watching women in motorsport. I mean, there definitely weren't many back then, but even just watching the men in motorsport, and they have impact. And I realized we're so lucky now to have such a worldwide platform to be able to reach each other. I need to do more of
Here
this, even if it's
yeah,
only another one or two people that I reach. Worth it. Why not? Why
right.
not have a go? Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's a perfect example, I mean, of what's going on now. Social media connected us, and here we are, and hopefully you're getting your message
exactly.
out to, you know, like you said, if you find one more person, if you inspire one more little girl out there, I don't wanna speak for you, but I mean, that's something. You know what I mean?
It's
So,
really what I'm aiming for.
that is awesome, that's fantastic. As the father of a daughter myself, it's awesome to see, women at the forefront, trying to push it even farther than it is today. So,
Thank you.
kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
Do you feel like social media has changed the way, specifically as it pertains to racing? Do you feel like it's changed the way racers kind of build their careers today? Because, like you said, I mean, the internet and social media, it makes this big world just a little bit smaller and a little bit more, plugged into each other, where somebody could be seen on TikTok, and boom, there they are, the very next month or year at a drag strip.
100%. I mean, we're so much better connected now, but we're also able to appear in a completely different lens. We're able to show pieces of ourselves that we wouldn't be able to show previously, that people never knew. And it's allowing us to showcase a depth of character that's never before been seen on such a public and huge platform.
Right.
I think it's so important for budding motorsport enthusiasts, any sort of creator, to show who they are and really embody that publicly through social media. Not only are you giving value to obviously brands and anyone that may want to work with you, but you're also allowing your share of voice out there, which is important because you never know who's listening. You never know who's watching. Like, I never knew the Kamari lady was watching, and it made a difference to her life. And I'm sure I've watched so many people that they wouldn't have known that they made a difference to my life. It's a give and take kind of thing. But particularly in drag racing, it's huge. And I think from a drag racing lens, everyone needs to be optimizing social media. And again, it brings it back to the fact that our races are very short. Our time on the track that we're, I guess, the most visible is very, very short. So it's about what happens off the track more than it is what happens on the track. We all know what happens on the quarter mile, and we try our best in that very short time that we have. But off the track is where you can really make your mark and let people into a part of your life that you would have never known before. I mean, social media, drag racing side didn't really exist when I first found drag racing. This is even going back less than a decade ago. And I really had to work hard. Most of what I learned was in person because it didn't have that presence online. Whereas now, if you looked up drag racing online, you could learn from so many creators the backstory, what it looks like to pack a trailer, what it looks like to prep a car, what it looks like to suit up, what kind of gear you have to wear. We didn't have that. So it's great. It's such a valuable resource.
What kind of content do you enjoy creating the most? And I know that's kind of a loaded question because obviously you enjoy all of it or you wouldn't do it. But would you say it's the racing side or maybe behind the scenes garage stuff or maybe even the lifestyle content you do?
I mean, the lifestyle content is more, I'm just optimizing whatever I'm doing at the time.
Hmm.
That comes with me. That's just how I've always lived. And now I decide to just share it more. The racing
Right.
content is where I put my real creativity in. And I guess I'm more ideas-y. I love the racing side because I get to share with people parts that they wouldn't have seen before. Like, I've had so many requests for this and I haven't done it yet. I really need to live up to it and do it. Is so many people want to know how to pack a parachute. And to me, that's something I've done hundreds of times now when just becomes second nature. And I
Right.
forget that it's actually very interesting. And there's a whole science and crazy, backstory to why we do what we do, why we have parachutes and what kind of parachute is different to that parachute. And it's social media is great and content is great for that because it also grounds you to remind you that what you're doing is unique, what you're doing is special. And it's a bit of a reminder to be grateful for what you have. So I love the racing content. It is a constant reminder of what I'm doing is important to someone and it's important to me. So it gives me a chance to express my gratitude.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so easy to almost become, just not complacent, but like the things that you do on such a regular basis that seem so everyday and mundane to you. Like you said, to someone packing a parachute. You've done it a million times. Like it's literally a chore for you. But to someone else, it's like, oh my God, this is the most amazing piece of content I've ever seen. So
Yeah.
I definitely get where you're coming from. Before I let you out of here, I want to talk a little bit. You kind of touched on it a bit, but you're involved in marketing through your company, Built Different Marketing. How did that side of your career kind of develop? Obviously, you're out here dedicating yourself to racing, but you've also got time to start a business. You're kind of the Jill of all trades, it seems like. How did that kind of come about?
Well, I had had a corporate marketing career for about 8 years. Loved the marketing side, but while I had full-time jobs, I had side hustled for a few years to just take up contracts that were in the motorsport space. And again, it started as an extra prong to help women in the automotive space. I originally discovered a channel called Cartel TV, and they were a female-led car review platform. They needed some social media help, and I was like, sure, I'll help you out. I'll start a little side hustle, and I'll work with these guys when I'm not at my full-time job. I'm contributing to a cause for women in automotive that's still outside of what I'm directly doing for myself. And it kind of grew from there. I maintained my full time job for a while and I actually fell into a redundancy. My role became redundant. So I thought, well, motorsport is my absolute dream. It's my passion, my dream, and everything. Marketing is my profession. It's where I have all my skills. And now I'm out on my own. Why not just smush the two together and make something great here? I can be my own boss. I can help people market their own careers in motorsport. I can use the lessons that I've learned for someone else and see where it takes me. I guess it was always obviously autonomy and freedom of time is probably the one thing that makes us rich in today's age. So that's what I was chasing, but I'm hoping that there's meaning to my work as well in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. And to kind of finish off on that topic, do you think that social media and marketing is just as important these days as the results on a track? Specifically when it comes to sponsorship opportunities and things like that. Because, like we said in the beginning of this, motorsports may be the most expensive, out of pocket sport to be involved in. Sponsorship is an absolute must. So in 2026, how important is social media and marketing yourself, you know even compared to the results on the track?
I would wager that it's more important. I
Mm,
mean, winning is fantastic. We are naturally competitive people to be in this line of sport. So we want to win. Of course, we want to win. But at the end of the day, it is really about what you bring to the track. We always bring determination, we always bring our best, but it's also your personality, your drive, and what your bigger mission is outside of, your sport, what you're actually doing on the track. And social media is a fantastic place to market those avenues of your life. I think it's so important that we realize the power that a personal brand can have for, again, other people, influencing brands. And if you come from the right place, if you come from the right passion, it should just naturally feed. I think the two feed into one another. And it's celebrating your successes, celebrating your losses, just being real with the public to bring together a community, really be a part of a community and hopefully create a community around that too. I mean, we need more love. We need more light in the world. I think it's a great way to bring it.
I love that. Perfectly said. I cannot let you out of here without bringing this up because I saw this in my notes and I was like, that might not be right, but I'm going to say it anyway. How is it that you're beautiful? Obviously, everyone watching can see that. You're a badass race car driver. You're a marketing guru, a social media budding star, a classically trained singer, and a Taekwondo black belt. Okay, yes. You're not allowed to be that awesome. Which one do you think? Hey, we do a little something around here. Which one do you think surprises people the most?
I think it's the singing usually.
Yeah. Okay, yeah,
most people don't expect that. I particularly loved opera, did like little snippets of opera, but mostly classical growing up, and performed quite a few venues around Australia, which was amazing. I don't sing as much anymore, and I'm not sure that I could really hold pitch to the same way that I used to be able to do it. Although I have had a dream for probably the past few years, particularly that I've been building the drag racing side, is I would love to sing the anthem at a race that I'm racing at. I just thought that patriotic moment to be able to give back to my sport and my country at the same time would be a real pinch me kind of moment. So I'm hoping maybe that one day I can make that happen.
I'm not 100% convinced you weren't just completely put together in a lab because going through the research on you, I was like, this isn't a real human being. No one is this talented, but here you are. And this nice. Like
I can't stop trying things. I need to try everything and I want to give everything a go.
Fair enough. So you're going to be playing like rugby here pretty soon, right? That's what you're telling us?
I could. I'm pretty sure. I think I'd be good at like slipping under people's arms, but maybe not the tackle.
I love it. Well, we finally found something you're not good at. Okay. All right. I can live with that. This is a fun one. If someone followed you around for a full week with a camera, what would fans be most surprised to see about your day-to-day life?
Day-to-day life is so different every day. So, I mean, there's a multitude of things that could really surprise them there. One thing that I guess throws a lot of people off, but I don't think it's that common. And I have no doubt that there's more women that do it, but I drive a manual in heels every single day. But that tends to freak a lot of people out. My brothers actually refused to get in the car with me once because I was wearing stilettos and driving a manual. And he was like, no, I am not coming with you until you take those things off. Come on. But most people think that's a little bit crazy. I guess I'm just so used to it now. But I do a lot of dancing as well. I love line dancing and I love heels dancing. So pretty much every week I am doing at least 2 or 3 nights of dancing somewhere. Just for fun.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. So confirmed. You are, in fact, a robot that was built in a lab that is just good at everything. Okay. Yeah. Got the check.
Very spicy.
Well, with that said, looking ahead, and I hate to just pigeonhole you down to one thing because you're obviously extremely talented in a lot of different things, but in your racing career specifically, what are the next goals that you're chasing? Obviously, everyone has the big long-term goals and then the short-term. What's currently on your checklist?
Well, from the drag racing perspective, my goal is America. I have always been such a fan of the NHRA circuits and just the NHRA wave racing. I would love to come over to get licensed in some sort of nitro car, and nitro would be the dream for me. Whether it's funny car, top fuel, I'm not really fussed. I just want to break the sound barrier, basically. And
no biggie.
Why not?
Got it.
Why not?
Yeah. Typical Saturday for you. Got it.
And from the circuit racing side, last year I did the Bathurst Challenge with Anytime Finance in their Toyota 86, which was an incredible experience. And it's really left me hooked on Bathurst. If you know Bathurst, Mount Panorama, It's the holy grail of Australian racetracks. And so I've got a VK that I'm about to start testing next month. And my goal is to get that to Bathurst in November again. And that car, I guess, is a particularly special. It's a replica of Brocky's Big Banger car, which Peter Brock was, if you know, Peter Brock was one of their most iconic races, Australian races, probably in history. And it's a replica of his car. And he raced that car at Bathurst. So my goal is to honor Brocky by racing the VK around the hill.
I love that. I love that, and I'm going to be pulling for you as much as I'm sure
Thank you.
many people that are watching and listening will. I can't let you out of here without asking you my two favorite questions. One of which being, obviously, you're a young, incredibly, even like just unbelievably talented woman. How do you, at this stage, not just of your career, because that's awesome, but of your life, how do you define success?
Happiness. If you're happy and fulfilled, you're successful. I think there's obviously many different ways that we can define success, but I consider someone successful if they are happy and fulfilled.
I love it. I love that answer. And last but not least, this is the Fans View podcast. You see the branding behind my head, so I have to ask you before you get out of here. Of course, aside from racing, what are you a fan of?
Yeah, racing's the big one for me. I'm a fan of dance. I'm a fan of classical music, shocker. But probably my biggest fixation outside of racing is fashion. I adore fashion, adore couture and designer art. I think it's amazing. My dream would be one day to go to Paris Fashion Week. I think my brain may explode. So I love, as you can see, yeah, I like the nails, I like makeup, I like everything. It doesn't change who I am on the track, but if I could wear a designer race suit with a bit of a heel boot down the track, I'd die happy for sure.
That answer. I really appreciate that. Obviously, this has been so much fun, Abby, and I sincerely hope this is the first of many appearances on this show because you are just a blast to talk to. Where can people get a hold of you on social media? Where can they watch your content? All those things.
TikTok and Instagram, I am oh hey it's Abbey K, OHHEY, it's Abbey K. Don't ask, I made it when I was a teenager. And and Abbey K Racing on YouTube, which is a little scarce at the moment, but will be coming back soon with a lot of the racing content that I've got coming up.
I love it. Guys over here in America, make sure you go check Abby out. She's wonderful. Her content is great. I like I said, that's how I found her, was on TikTok, I believe. So make sure to go support her, follow her, like her stuff, being kind and giving her some support like that costs you absolutely nothing. And, I'm sure she appreciates it more than you guys could even imagine. Of course, go follow the show, like, subscribe, all the things. Subscribe on YouTube. You guys know the deal. It's 2026. I don't even have to go through the spiel. But most importantly, go support Abby. Go show her some love. And last but not least, call your mom.
If you haven't liked or subscribed, you're going to be joking me.